Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and also welcome to the government scheme session. The scheme that we are covering today, it is National Monetization Pipeline. So this has been asked by one of you guys for to make a scheme on, and that is why here is the video, and we will understand all the static dimensions that are important from the scheme point of view, and also what was in news. So currently this, not currently, but yes, a few months back this scheme was in news. So what was it? Everything we are going to cover in this session. But before starting, here's an announcement for all the aspirants who are preparing for central regulatory bodies. We have come up with one-stop solution guide for all your queries that you might be having regarding the organization that you would want to join. What are the different posts? What are the different departments that are present in the particular organization? And once you understand that, you would want to know how to join that. So whatever be the pattern, the phases, what is the syllabus, what is the previous year trend, what are you eligible or not, all these questions that you might be having in your mind, everything you can find in these books. And not only that, but also a 6-step formula that you can actually follow to fulfill the dream of becoming an officer in the respective regulatory bodies. So all this you can do by just downloading these free of cost guidebooks, that the link to which that is present in the description box below. So do not miss the opportunity. So now let's start with the session. It talks about national monetization pipeline. So basically what the idea is, before that there was another scheme that was launched, national infrastructure pipeline, and this was later subsumed under Gati Shakti. So some of you might be aware of these schemes, some of you might not be. Okay, so basically Gati Shakti, if you don't remember, but at least you must be aware of, there was a buzz around that 100 lakh crore will be invested in the infrastructure. So basically what the basic understanding is, this Gati Shakti scheme or the national infrastructure pipeline was launched back in 2019. The aim under this is to develop infrastructure in India, and of course it in a way it will develop the employment, it will promote the GDP, right? So for that the NIP was, first of all, it was launched. Then what happened, government, they need money also to for the infrastructure development and things, right? So now where from this, the money will come from where, right? So that is why this scheme was launched, and it has its own objective, and now let's understand how. Okay, here we are talking about monetization, means money, basically to have money, to generate money. And how we are going to do that? So government, they have a lot of assets. What are these assets? Means the things that they have which can be utilized. For example, they have roads, they have railway stations, they have whatever assets now you must be getting in your mind, right? Airports, anything which is government property. What the basic idea was, that they have the asset, they had the asset which can be utilized in a much better way, but it could not be utilized again because of the lack of money, right? So basically what happened under national monetization pipeline, it was envisaged that whatever asset the government would have, they would lend it to the private players. Okay, and here we are not giving the ownership to private players, but just to lend them for a certain period of time as a lease. Okay, and then what will be done? In return of that, private players will give money back to the government. Okay, now this money will be utilized to create another asset, and then from that asset also again, that will be lended, and money will be generated by lending that to any private player, and money will be generated from that, right? So here we are looking at that how money will be generated. So this is a cycle that exactly that is going on, that existing asset base whatever the government has, there are core asset we will look at in a while. But here you are looking at from a picture also, you can understand there are sports stadium that can be leased to the private players, right? Or the railways, the airports, the highways, right? All these things, even the water pipeline distribution also, it can be a part of it. Okay, so first of all, exit whatever existing asset based will be, so that they will be lended to private players to monetize existing assets. Okay, so these private players will bid that, okay, we will provide you with this much amount in return, and just lend us, okay, for a certain period of time. Then afterwards what will happen? Proceeds from monetization. Okay, when the money will be taken by the government, they will create new infrastructure, and of course that will cater to the initial ambitions that are being envisaged by the government. And then that infrastructure will be used as a asset base, and then this cycle will continue, and we will have proper development on infrastructure as well, and money will be generated, and new assets will also be formed. So this is the basic idea of national monetization pipeline. Okay, Currently government, what they have done, so they have then when the scheme was launched, so they have released some percentage also, that how much they are willing or they will use as a asset base, okay, in different sector. For example, in roads, 27% of the overall under this category will be provided to the private players. Okay, similarly railway. So why I'm just counting these two, because they have the highest percentage or the section. Apart from that, here we are looking at power generation, power transmission, and we have pipeline. So if we overall, if we consider power, that also is contributing around 15% of the total asset that will be used as a base. Okay, asset base that will be used for used to give under the particular scheme. Okay, so roads, railway, and power. Okay, so they will constitute maximum of the portion, and then rest we have, for example, we have real estate, we have ports, aviation, everything, they will also be part of it. Warehousing, in fact warehousing has also been included, telecom, mining, all these things. Okay, so major three are roads, railways, and power. Now, launch year of this scheme, let's understand the dynamics. So by now we have understood the basic essence. Okay, we have understood the crux. By after that, we are just going to look at, we are just going to do the formality of the static portion that you need to remember. Okay, so the launch year of this scheme is 2021. So basically this scheme was launched by was announced during the budget session of 21 at that time, but it was implemented, means this project with the what it envisages, it was started from 2022 onwards. Okay, so when if we talk about when this scheme was launched or announced, it was in 2021, but actually on ground level it have been started from 2022, financial year 2022. Okay, and it falls under the Ministry of Finance. Okay, what is the aim? So that is to aggregate, basically we have to augment, we have to generate monetization potential of rupees 6 lakh crore. So basically we have seen this criteria, right? We have seen this pie chart, and here the asset will be used for monetization, right? So here it is expected that by this particular scheme we will be able to generate 6 lakh crore of monetization will be generated, which can be further utilized for infrastructure development. Okay, through core assets. Now core are the ones, the core assets are the one which are the biggest assets of government, and which are very really valuable, and these are the you can say primary big assets which help the government to grow. So these are the core assets at the of the central government, and this particular pipeline, the guidelines of it, and all the whatever be the information and instruction under this are, they are developed by Niti Aayog in line, in consultation with the infrastructure line ministries. Okay, so after the consultation with the infrastructure line ministry, Niti Aayog has constructed the policies under the particular scheme. Okay, now let's look at the key features. Again, they are very easy to understand. To unlock value of brownfield projects, now there are see two type of projects. One is greenfield projects and another one are brownfield, which we are looking at. See, greenfield projects are the one which are yet to start, or they are the first establishment. What does it mean? For example, if had I have a land. Okay, so I have a land, and there's need to be construction of building in there. Okay, so now this is a greenfield project. If my project here, if I am envisaging that the project should be building creating new buildings over here, so this will become a greenfield project. But for example, if I give you, there was already a building, but I want to expand it. So there was a, for example, factory. Don't even consider buildings, but there was a factory, but now I want to expand it. Then if that was the case, that it is already existing, the project is already existing, but there's some improvement development that can be done, or even that particular project can be run for the longer period of time, that will be considered as brownfield project. So here basically we have to, the government is trying to unlock the brownfield project, the value, the actual value of the railways, the actual value of the aviation, by providing that to the private players. Okay, the revenue rights, this we have to clearly understand, that the revenue rights will be transferred when the public partnership will be done, or basically when private players will be selected. Revenue rights will be given to them. Okay, only rights will be given to them, not the ownership, the ultimate ownership of that particular whatever infrastructure that we would be giving or we would be lending. The ultimate ownership will be that of the central government only. The funds generated will be used for infrastructure creation, that we have understood, across the country. And roads, railways, and power sector assets comprise over 66. Why we added this line? Because this constitute the maximum chunk. Roads, railways, and power sector, over 66% will be is estimated that these assets will be given out in public and for the monetization. Okay, Now framework monetization, basically this is the screenshot that I have taken from the official guidelines. This is somewhat we have already studied in a previous one, but here just a small chunk of the framework features of this particular scheme that is there. Monetization of rights, not ownership, very important. Only the monetization of rights, leasing is done, license will be given, not for the ownership. Assets handed back at the end of the transaction life, whatever will be the time period after that, assets will be handed back to, and will be fully owned by the government only. Brownfield de-risk asset, what are de-risk asset? Basically we are lending, we are providing these whatever brownfield the government have as an asset, because they are expecting that revenue will be generated from it, right? That is why here we are talking about de-risk assets, means there we know that there is going to be profit only, but we are just using the private players to have even more profit, right? So basically what happens, government, they are focusing on a lot of things, right? And due to bureaucracy, due to many other such reasons, the proper utilization of assets are not being done, and that is why private players have been now involved, so that they can actually make more profit. So in this way the private company will just give the share which the government has asked them to give them, right? And the rest apart, whatever be the profit that will be done, that will be owned wholly by the by that particular private player. For example, I'll give the best example if you're still confused. For example, there's a highway, okay? Now this highway has been lended or leased by the government to a particular for 15 years to a particular private player, okay? Now there it can construct a particular for example, by the side of it, it can construct a subway, it can construct anything where the people can actually stop and they can buy, right thing. So in this way what will happen, the private player will have additional profit. Had it been just focused by the government, they might not have given much focus on this thing where a particular construction can be made, because they have just made the highway and now they are focusing on to build more or other roads, right? So they have already so much development to do, and that is why here here the de-risk assets, where we know that there is not going to be any risk, those will be distributed. Now structured partnership under defined contractual framework. So there will be a proper structured way of providing these contracts, and there will be transparent, as the government is saying that all the procedure they will be transparent, and there will be standards, there will be proper standards, and according to them only the particular government they are going to lend the assets to the public to the private players, okay? There in two ways where the monetization can be done. So there are two models under it, okay? So the first one we are looking at, it is direct contractual approach, where direct contract will be given to a private player, okay? So there what the government has done, so they already had the asset, they have just made contract with a particular private player that for these many years you are going to do all the things that you want to do under it, okay? There is also under two types which we'll look at in the next slide, but currently you just have to first understand the difference between direct contractual and structured financing model, okay? So in this I hope you have understood, we have directly given the contract and now the government is just getting back the money, there's nothing else. But in structured financing model, what the government is saying, they are actually asking the investors to come in this. There is a contract, there is actually players that would actually lend or lease those assets for a certain amount of time. But in structured financing model, in this one, the government is asking that okay, we have a certain structure, for example IT park we can take off, okay, or something like that. We invite you. So we are talking to investor, the government is talking to the investor, government is asking the investors to invest in the already existing structure, because we are talking about brownfield, right? And whatever be the additional revenue that will be generated, we will give you some share out of it. Okay, so here in actual there is no contract that has been given, and because see in first case we know that government has no role to play, then they're just taking back the money. But in case of structured financing models, whatever be the revenue that will be generated, that will be equally, or whatever be the contract would say, it would be according to the percentage will be given back to the investors for how much for however time they have signed the contract, okay, till whenever the time, and the government will also get the same profit, okay? So it is the structured financing models. So structured instrument for long term funds generation via capital market or through a pool of investors structures are over here. I hope these two differences are clear, but if still not, please write in the comment section. I'll make your doubts clear. Okay, so the first one, again, direct contractual approach. Okay, in this we have some criteria. However, see, I don't think you have to go deep down this much, but because one of you had asked me to make a detailed video on this, I have keep in mind what can be the questions that can be asked in examination. But still, for your satisfaction, and if you want to read on your own, you can have this particular look at this particular box also. So basically here we are talking about assets or rights over by defined contractual framework. So we know in there a proper contract will be made, and the consideration will be upfront or periodic payment. So payment can be done at once only upfront, or it can be done in periodic. And usually the structures that will be prevalent under this will be PPP, public private partnership models, that concessions will be under this. Okay, and there are two important one. So there are two important types of private partnership that can be followed, the models that can be followed. The first model, it is operate, maintain, transfer. So basically the best example of it is toll, operate, transfer. What does it mean? We have seen that alongside roads there are tolls, right? So tolls, they would stop you and take some money, right? So in this, basically what happens, the government, they give this to they give this responsibility to a particular private private party, and they operate these tolls, they maintain, means there should not be any infrastructure loss, right? So they maintain this particular toll for that certain period of time, and then they are then further transferred, they then give back to, they can give back to government. Now it's up to government if they again want to give the lease to that company only, or maybe to the next company, whatever it is the case. But here basically the understanding is operating the the asset, operating it, maintaining it, and then transferring it. And another one is operate, maintain, and develop. So in this particular one, basically, and this is the best example, is operation management development agreement in airports. Basically what happens in case of airports, if for example if some private player has been invited, so see, there are benefits to both the parties. Government, because they do not have money, and that is why they are expecting private money will in private party will invest in it, right? So in this way, government is also, ultimately the ownership is to government only, so of course it is going to get benefit. And in return to the private players, they already have a established infrastructure, they just need to develop it more to have more profit, right? So in this way both parties are being benefited. So in this particular case, which is the operate, so basically whatever asset that will be handed over to the private players, they will operate it, they will maintain it, and they will develop it. For example, if there are two runways in the particular airport, so it can be done that 4 runways will be made, out of two more 2 will be made, or maybe extra will be made. Okay, so here we are talking about operating, maintaining, and developing that particular asset as well. Okay, so these two are type of brownfield public private partnership concessions. Okay, I hope that is clear. And in case of structured financing model, we have already understood. So right, we are talking about here pool of investor. We are not actually making that contractual basis that for these many years this is your responsibility to do anything that you want to do, right? Here we are talking about pool of investors. The ultimate right again will be to the government only, and the government is just inviting the investors to invest for the development of that particular project, and whatever be the revenue that will be generated, it will be given to whatever be the amount, the percentage that has been designated, in that particular percentage there will be a money that will be given. Okay, so here consideration is generally upfront. Now the here upfront means these investor will at one go will provide with the investment, not in the installment, which in case of contractual we have seen that the partner the public player, they can give either directly at one go the amount, and or in the installment as well. Okay, so here it is upfront, and here we have prevalent structure that we are looking at. So here we have infrastructure investment fund trust, I'm sorry, real estate investment trust. These are all involved under where the pool of investor, they come up and they invest under the national monetization pipeline, and this is the part of structured financing model. Okay, so I hope that is clear. And by this is the expectation of government, and they are expecting that over the 4 years, okay, so per year this will be in trillion we are looking at, that the government will be able to generate the monetization with the help of this particular scheme per year. So for financial year 2020 for financial year 23, it is expected to generate 1.62 trillion of money, which can be further will be utilized. Okay, and top 3 sectors again, which are the top 3 sectors by value: roads, railways, and power. Okay, and this is by Niti Aayog. So that is all on the scheme. I hope it is clear. It can be confusing for some people, I can understand, but again, if you have any doubt, you can comment it down, but I think it has been cleared. So this particular scheme, it is of 31st January of 2023, so 2 months back only. So here all the discussions of Minister of Finance, of the development and everything was discussed under it. We have to understand, see, you would have to look at which examination you are preparing for and how much relevant this news can be, and the data points that are under this, that can be important from the examination point of view, right? So that is why I've added this link. This is the link of this particular news, because here's a lot of data, a lot of information of the development sectors have been given under this scheme. Do have a read of it, right? And here's a homework for you all. Identify the incorrect statement with respect to the scheme that we have just studied, and these are the toppers of the last session. So Rishabh said the right answer, Vanshika said the right answer, Baishali and Chetan said the right answer. Congratulations, you are preparing really well for the examination, and I really wish you get the hard work that you are doing, it pays off you really soon. And actually, so this scheme was asked by lengthy explanation on national monetization and infrastructure pipeline, so he has asked me to make a video on it. So if you want me to have a session on national infrastructure pipeline or Gati Shakti also, we can have it afterwards, but this is all in this video. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like the video, and also join the Telegram channel to get the PDF of this and all the lectures, PDF of this and every lecture that we provide here on YouTube. And yes, I was supposed to make the scheme on small small savings scheme. Okay, so I told one of you, right? I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but I told you one of you that my next session will be on this only, but I'm sorry. Basically what happened, I started making a video on this, but then I realized that the whatever be the percentage, the data under it is, it was valid till 31st March only, and then it was going to change again from 1st of April, and that is why I thought of making it 2 or 3 session afterwards, so that we have the new data, because there's no use of it. This was anyway current affairs, but I felt like if I am teaching you, I should provide you with the latest data. So I hope you'll understand, and in the next video we'll next or maybe next to next video we'll cover the small saving schemes. And all the very best for examination. If you want to me to cover any scheme, do write it down. We'll meet again with another video on government schemes. Until then, again, all the very best for examination, and thank you.